What Will Survive is the 8th and final episode of Apple TV Plus's Down Cemetery Road. And as the name suggests, it's all about persevering in the face of adversity, which is exactly what the women did in the last episode. At the start of this episode, all of the characters gather in the Scottish town, and each one's trying to do what they think is right. But here's the thing, everyone has a completely different idea of what's good and what's wrong. And this becomes absolutely crucial in the finale when Zoe and Sarah face off against the government agency and its assassins in a confrontation that takes some seriously unexpected and deadly turns. Alright, spoilers ahead. The worst enemies Sarah and Zoe face. So at the beginning of the episode, Sarah and Dinah return to the island. As they're stealing a few items, Dinah asks about Zoe's whereabouts. Sarah tries to tell her that Zoe has left, but then the detective appears directly behind them. Turns out Donnie, that Scottish man whose boat they took last week, he saved her. Even though Sarah's relieved that Zoe is safe, they still need to get out of there as soon as possible, because Zoe's being hunted by the police for the murder of that elderly couple that Amos actually killed. What they don't know is that Hamza has been tracking them this entire time. They board a bus, and he reports back to his employer, who tells him to finish things. Hamza ends up stealing the bus and crashes it into an old church. But here's where it gets interesting. That doesn't mean he's ready to kill them, especially not the baby. He forces all three of them inside the church and holds them at gunpoint. Then he calls his supervisor and admits he can't go through with killing Dinah. Meanwhile, Amos is on the island. He's about to leave after finishing his work when he gets a call from C, who's desperate to end this whole situation. C lays everything out on a silver platter and asks the assassin to finish what he and his brother started. Amos is determined to get to that church, but things don't go as planned. Is Amos dead? When it becomes clear that Hamza can't complete the mission, C sends in Amos as backup. The assassin had just killed Downey and was on his way out of the country, but C's call pulls him back in. His only motivation now? To kill Hamza. C asks the assassin to finish what he and his brother started. Amos makes this dramatic entrance into the church by tossing in a grenade. This gives Sarah, Zoe, and Dinah just enough time to hide while Hamza tries to collect himself. Amos takes this opportunity to mock him, and even when Hamza puts a gun to his head, Amos knows that Hamza will never be able to pull that trigger. Their confrontation gets interrupted when Dinah makes noise while escaping through a hidden passage beneath the floor. Hamza chases after her, so Amos decides to deal with Zoe instead. After all, he was sent to kill her and her two companions. He drags Zoe out from her hiding spot and they start fighting. She's got very little chance of surviving against someone who's already killed so many people. But for Zoe, it's not just about her own survival. She knows if Amos walks out of there, he'll hunt down and kill Sarah and Dinah too. Plus, she needs to avenge Joe, who was murdered by Amos's brother. When she tells Amos about Joe's death, he's actually thrilled. He gets to kill her and in this twisted way, complete the circle. Zoe tries everything, throwing objects at him, trying to distract him, but nothing works. Eventually, Amos gets her in a chokehold, and it looks like she's done for. But then, she grabs this jagged piece of metal that Dinah had pulled out of a chair earlier, and she stabs Amos right in the eye with it. The shock and pain overwhelm him. He stumbles backward, falls, and his head hits a step. That blow to the head is just as deadly as the stabbing itself. He bleeds out on the floor and never gets back up again. When the church burns down later, Amos's body burns right along with it. Does Hamza pass away? While Zoe's fighting Amos for her life, Sarah runs after Dinah, who's being chased by Hamza. Even though he's holding a gun, he's calling out to the young girl like he's trying to protect her. Dinah attempts to distract him, but he's not as naive as she thought. Sarah decides to arm herself. Earlier, when Donnie handed her that bag, she noticed it had a flare gun in it. She grabs it from the bus and chases after Dinah, finding her just as Hamza does. She points the gun at him, giving Dinah time to escape. With death staring him in the face, the government agent tries to negotiate. He tells Sarah that even though she's accidentally gotten caught up in something that has nothing to do with her, she can still get her life back. All she has to do is hand over Dinah and sign some papers to guarantee anonymity, and things can go back to how they were. He also points out that even if she kills him, his agency will never stop hunting her. Sarah finally lowers her gun and tosses it on the ground. Hamza picks it up and immediately points it at her. But she's not surprised at all. She actually expected this, which is why she didn't pull the safety plug. As soon as he fires the gun, his hand gets shot off. He loses 2 fingers in the process and collapses to the ground in shock and pain. Sarah grabs his gun, but she doesn't shoot him. Instead, she ties something across his face to keep him from screaming and leaves to find Dinah. Hamza collapses in agony after getting his fingers shot off, but he survives. When he wakes up, it's already dark, and the 3 people he was chasing are gone. Even if he makes it back home, he'd face serious consequences because at that same moment, the truth about everything he was supposed to keep secret gets exposed. We see a beaten and wounded Hamza making his way to the road, but there's no help in sight. If he hasn't bled out, he might be able to get help and survive. But with prison waiting for him, he'll probably go into hiding to avoid getting arrested. This might be the last time we see him. Does Sarah join Zoe's detective agency? What happens to Dinah? After Zoe kills Amos and Sarah deals with Hamza, things end on a good note for Dinah. The women find her, then leave in Amos's car, playing some music and feeling this huge relief that they survived the entire ordeal. Sarah even takes off her wedding ring and tosses it away, showing she's not going back to her husband and is headed towards a divorce. Later that evening, they take a train back home. While Dinah rests, Sarah and Zoe get some time to talk. Sarah talks about how they made a good team, then she asks Zoe if she will go back to her detective agency. From the way she's talking and the words she's choosing, it's pretty clear she wants to join Zoe's detective agency. But Zoe has no interest in getting a partner. She tries to deflect Sarah's words through humor and sarcasm, and eventually talks about how she still has Joe's funeral to plan and attend. That stops Sarah from talking about the future. Sarah pulls out 2 small bottles of alcohol, and the women get drunk, tasting it for Joe. Zoe also gets a call from Wayne and tells him to upload all the evidence they have gathered on the internet, and he follows promptly. The next morning, when they get off the train, they still have Dinah. As much time and effort as Sarah put into finding Dinah, she knows she cannot take her home. Moreover, she may still have dangerous people following her in a bid to get to Dinah. So the only safe place for her is with Downey's sister, Ella. This is what Downey had planned anyway, so Sarah goes along with it, sending Dinah to the safety and comfort of Ella's household. The goodbye is bittersweet as Sarah realizes that the case is finally over. As she watches Dinah leave, she doesn't notice Zoe slipping away too. By the time she realizes the detective is gone, Zoe has already walked away quite some distance. Sarah's instinct is to follow Zoe, but even she knows she doesn't have a place beside the detective, and she has to accept that. In the final scene, we see her torn between wanting to follow Zoe and watching Dinah walk away. When both are gone, she will have to forge a new path for herself, especially now that she knows she has a taste and knack for solving mysteries. What happens to C and Minister Talia? While Hamza and Amos are the ones pulling the triggers and cleaning up the bodies, the real orchestrator of the chaos is their boss, C. He instructs them to kill people to hide government secrets. So, when the truth becomes public, it is he who must take the blame. And he knows it. In fact, he has prepared for just this situation. He knows that his bosses will never let him be, especially after he failed to contain the fiasco that could cost everyone their careers and power. So in his last meeting with Minister Talia Ross, he reveals he is taking the fall for the whole thing, but it doesn't mean this is the end for him. He quotes Winston Churchill, saying he will not let the crisis go to waste, and sure enough, he has already made arrangements for himself. After the meeting with Ross, he has another meeting, this time with the representative of a private company, who welcomes him to their world. suggesting that C has moved on from government work and is now going to wreak more havoc on the world by working for the private sector. It means more money, but also freedom, because he knows too much for his former bosses to have him convicted for his crimes. So, in a way, not only does he walk away scot-free from the whole thing, but he is actually in a much better place now. The same, however, cannot be said about Talia. Thanks to the folder that Zoe left for her mother-in-law, who gave it to the cop Zoe knew, who gave it to Talia's secretary, Talia comes to know about C and his department's dark secrets. When she confronts him, he says he kept her in the dark so she would have plausible deniability. He doesn't seem to be affected by her words of shock and distress, confirming all of her doubts and telling her that she has stepped out of her league. Ultimately, she is the one who will have to pay the price for this. While C gets away with a new job, her entire career is put on the line. She is asked how and why she didn't know about these atrocities before, and the TV interview that was supposed to make her breaks her. She tries to reassure the public that she will never let things like this happen under her command, but her words ring hollow, and even she feels it. By the time she leaves the interview, she is too baffled to realize she is walking in the wrong direction and has no words to say to her secretary in the world. The revelation has broken her career, or so it seems at the moment. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.